Welcome to the Self-Love Model. On this podcast, we have open-hearted and honest conversations about all things self-love and the journey of self-discovery. This podcast is for those on an everlasting journey of their own evolution, and most importantly, a safe space for us to heal together. I'm your host, Sid, and welcome to your self-love session. Hello, my beautiful angelic baddies. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite self-care podcast, the Self-Love Model. I am your girl, Sid. Thank you. And as you guys can tell, today I am joined with our resident therapist, Amanda Pina.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be back. Always happy to be back. I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
It's been a long day, as we discussed offline. But I'm here and I'm ready. I'm excited. These are very fun topics. Yeah. So this is going to be a good episode, I think.
Yes, me too. I'm excited as well. We're filming this also later in the day too. So different than normal, but
yeah,
we're here for it.
So we're saying that be aware if there's weird pauses or if we trip over our words or if you happen to hear a yawn, please be kind to us.
Yes.
You know, when we recorded our first episode, which I think we've discussed, but I think it's so important to remember when we recorded our very first episode, I think we started at like 9:45, 10 o'clock.
Gosh.
We started so late and I was really proud of us when you listen to it. But there are moments since I know myself that I can tell that I'm like searching for words, that I'm like delirious a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oof, that's exhaustion. That's because it's midnight when I'm like trying to find these places in my brain.
That's way past your bedtime.
Oh, 9:45 is past my bedtime. If I'm past 9:45, I'm getting crazy. So
yeah,
yes, completely.
And I'm the opposite. I'm night owl over here. Even though right now I'm tired, but we're gonna get that energy for this episode.
Yeah, because it's gonna be good. We have fun things to dive into, and I'm running the show again, which always pumps me up because I want to do you proud. But I feel like I've got some like good things to talk about too.
Yeah, so you always do a beautiful job, and I'm ready to just relax, lay back, and let the conversations
relax and get ready for me to ask you really fucking hard questions.
Grill me.
So that's our idea of relaxation. So yeah, it'll be great. So are we ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think this is actually the first time that we haven't spent like 25 minutes talking about how much we love each other though. So let me say, I love you. You're beautiful. I'm so proud of you. You've worked so hard bartending and still like attempting to be a functional adult and like still putting out episodes.
You know what's crazy? Like
this girl's amazing. So I want to actually start with a little appreciation. Let's backtrack.
Every like lately, because I've been working so much, like on my days off, when I can do one small task, I'm like so proud of myself. Like I did my laundry. I'm like, yes, like one thing off my list. Mm-hmm. I took a shower. I washed my hair. I meal prepped. Like each day is like one small task. I'm like, yes.
And it reminds you how those little things do make a big difference. Yes. Like you forget that all of those mundane things in the day to day.
Oh yeah,
can like make so much or break you. Mm-hmm. So good for you. Yes. But you're at the final stretch. Yeah. Like you can do it.
And it's been worth it, you know. So I got that bread for vacation.
Oh yeah. We're ready, guys. We're ready. Get ready to be sick of us.
Oh, I know.
Get ready to be so sick of me online.
Let's not like start with this.
Posting. Like just please be ready. Yeah. Okay.
This is your warning now. So
it's gonna be good.
Yeah. But, and then I also want to comment, if you guys are not watching this, you should, because Amanda looks good today. I love your hair.
Thank you.
It looks so good.
This is a new style. And the last few episodes is before my hair was done. My hair has officially been dyed.
I've been itching to tell you, but we were talking about other things. I was like,
thank you.
I'll find some time.
Thank you. You're so kind. I'm loving it too. I just updated my driver's license. So I'm like, I'm going to be like blonde in my driver's license photo for the next like 10 years. Like how funny that like
new era.
Yeah. And that'll like look funny to me looking at it and seeing that I'm just going to like consistently have like blondish hair. So
is it growing on you?
It's growing on me.
Yeah. I know you are feeling a little nervous.
I was stressing. for a hot minute.
And it's funny because it's just hair, but it like makes such a difference. It really does. It frames your face.
It does. Yeah. And the hair in the front of your face, where it frames you, that's make or break right there. Like if the 16 hairs on the front of your face don't look the exact color you thought they were, that's what gets me, because that's what I'm looking at all the time. Yeah. So looking at myself and being like, oh my God, you're blonde. But now I'm like, okay, fresh, fun. Look at you.
It's definitely giving summer, and it really does like bring out your eyes.
Yeah. Thank you. I like it. You're so kind. That means a lot. We did start with compliments.
This is tradition.
This is just tradition. Okay. That's from a musical. If you know, you know, guys.
I did not know.
No, that's totally fine. Fiddler on the Roof. Fun fact. If you've ever seen Fiddler on the Roof, please like slide into my DMs and let me know that you got that joke when I said it.
I've never heard of that.
I watched it in one of my music classes in high school, and I love a musical. So anyway,
on brand.
Yes, very on brand for me. A musical. I'll just burst out into song at any moment. Okay. Let's get into it. We have lots of random notes, but I want to touch probably on like four big topics. So we'll kind of dance around, but I want to really dig into at least 4 big things over the last 2 episodes. So we'll be talking about self-acceptance and self-discovery. And Cindy was very correct that self-acceptance is my favorite pillar, because I think in my life, it has always been one of the hardest, and one that when I completed it, when I like understood it, it really, really changed me. So I needed all of those other steps to get there. But for myself, self-acceptance was huge. Like being able to complete that on my own really did make self-discovery so easy moving forward. So we were stuck in self-acceptance for a while. So this subject is very near and dear to me. And so I wanted to kind of start by talking about when you brought up the cable machine at the gym, which is a funny segue. So but real. I have to say, I'll say it once, I'll say it every single time. That mirror is a funhouse mirror. Okay. There's a lot deeper things to discuss in this topic, but that mirror is so weird to me, and I feel the same way. So I just want to tell you, I hear you, I see you.
Thank you.
I don't think it
very seeing validated right now.
I don't think it has anything to do with what you looked like. And I think it has everything to do with that mirror has a personal vendetta against every single person that sits on one of those machines. Avert your eyes. Okay. The lighting, like the warehouse lighting.
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes some parts of that gym, the lighting is just not it.
And it's like the side of the gym too. So something about like being on the far edge, farthest away from natural light, the factory lighting, it's not it. Okay. So I want to validate you in that. But you brought up a really interesting concept that is the first topic I really want to get into, because I feel like it's a conversation. It's like a topic I don't really know the answer to. And I feel like it's the part where you were talking about how when you acknowledge that in your eyes that your appearance wasn't the way that you wanted it to look, it like ruined the experience of being at the gym. And so it makes me wonder what part of appearance ruins experiences for us, because appearances are just appearance. And so it definitely happens to me. And I think it's interesting because we live in this world where people say, look good, feel good. And like we all say it. And I totally agree with that. I definitely feel my best about myself when I feel like I look good. But I'm just curious why we feel like an experience is ruined if we don't like the way we look, or maybe we don't think that other people like the way that we look. Maybe like we don't get a compliment or something. It's just interesting to me. Have you ever thought about anything like that?
I haven't really thought about it in the way that you're asking the question, but I will say the first thing that came out to my head as we're talking about this is, I feel like what we're talking about, probably it can be something that doesn't apply to everyone. Maybe some people like, they don't care. It's not going to like ruin their day or whatever. Like Chris, he could care less, like he would never let that determine how he feels about an experience. But I feel like for me, I'm definitely someone who does care about how I look, how I present myself. And I also feel like the way that I grew up, like my appearance was a huge thing. And I think as women, like how we were raised to, like, I know for me, like being raised by my grandparents, my grandma was huge. Like anywhere I go, like I had to be like in perfect outfit. My hair was done up like every day. And it was like always about how I looked since I was a little girl. So I think maybe that's why it feels really like such a big deal to me to like want to look good, to feel like I can have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true. The way that, especially like when we grew up, the way that men and women are raised are obviously different, and that is okay. They're not supposed to be the same. That's completely fine. But it is so interesting that traumatic, like, isn't the right word, but just like kind of the negative things that are associated with why we do certain things based off of our childhood as a girl into womanhood are so interesting. And I think you bring up a good point that I think a lot of our negative thoughts are associated with how we appear to others. We can talk nicely about ourselves, but in the same sentence, kind of comment on how someone else might not see that the best way. Like a perfect example for me that I just thought of, I so commonly assume that people find me annoying. And I say that a lot. And I will find myself sometimes, and listen, we're not perfect. Sometimes I am annoying, you know?
And those just aren't your people.
That's okay. No, like I am annoying.
Oh, okay.
That is okay. I am acknowledging that sometimes I am.
Sometimes we just want to be a little obnoxious.
Yeah, like sometimes I am. But I in life have found myself kind of like in a funny way, because I use comedy as a defense mechanism. I am very funny, but I do also use it as a defense mechanism. Thank you so much. And there are times where I'll be talking to a friend and I'll be like, that person is probably like, who's this annoying person talking to me right now? And then all the friends just kind of like, well, you're not annoying. So, and then just like keep going on. And I'm like, oof, I'm like constantly reminded, like, I'm the one saying those things about me and assuming other people find me annoying. And my friends in that moment are being like, well, you're not. So haha, they'll like brush it off. But even just hearing them say that in the moment, I'm like, I'm doing it again, where I'm trying to like acknowledge that if someone's saying something mean about me that I already know, so that I'm in control and it doesn't matter anymore. And now it's funny. And I'm like, ooh, I need to stop doing that.
Why do you feel like you like think that?
I think because of the way that I felt like people didn't like me as a kid. And so it's part of that old core belief that people didn't enjoy spending time with me and that I was annoying. And so I think that now, like as a defense mechanism, I comment on it. But when I'm doing it because I'm assuming that someone out there in the world actually does think I'm annoying. And someone probably does, like for sure.
Yeah.
But why am I commenting on it?
Right.
Why am I like trying to find that person in the world and like let them know, hey, I know that I'm annoying.
So you can't call me that.
Yeah. And it's just like it's like a perfect example of that. And an example I wrote down was also like during my very first episode, I asked you if you were a leader or a follower. And you answered and you gave a really good answer. You were like right to the point. You're like, I'm a leader and here is why. And then at the end of your answer, you said, but I think that Chris would kind of laugh and kind of say that I'm a bit of a follower because I can be a follower sometimes. So I wonder if like Chris would agree with me. And I didn't comment on that because I wanted to like get into the brain and I wanted to focus on you. But there's a perfect example right there. You gave me a wonderful answer, but at the end of it, you included the way that somebody else might interpret you so that you can be like, I said what I said, but if you don't agree, I still know that you don't agree and it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's like, it's such an interesting concept. We do it without realizing. And it's just like, when did we start doing that?
Yeah. And I feel like perception, sometimes if you think about it, is such a weird thing. Yeah. You know? And yeah, I feel like, okay, one about the Chris thing. I feel like he's known me for so long that a lot of times I have to remind, like, he can still see me through, like, the lens of who I used to be, you know, like, before I started healing and all that. Because sometimes I have to check him, like, hey, that's not me anymore. Like, you, associating me as that, like, sometimes it can be, like, hard for me because then I'm like, you're almost, like, stunting me because then you're already, like, perceiving me as, or you're, like, you know, remembering me as like who I used to be. Yeah. And I have to remind him like, hey, like, that's not me anymore. You know, because like this actually happened recently. We went to the lake and we were just like having a conversation, and we were talking with his like brother, and he was like, oh yeah, Cindy gets really bad FOMO while she gets really bad FOMO. And I was like, and it was funny because his brother's wife actually made a comment. She's like, really? I don't really feel like she does. And I was like, yeah, no, I really don't. I was like, I used to. I was like, I definitely used to really get FOMO, but now like I don't. So like that was like one example where I had to remind him, like, you know, you're remembering the older version of me.
And slightly off topic, but in general, it's really important for you to grow in yourself and really know that you're not the person you used to be anymore. And the people in your life to also really follow that as well, because it also feels very unfair. Like it feels very unfair for me to always be viewed by past versions of myself. I think so many people probably see these things of me and are like, girl, what are you doing? Like, really? We saw you 20 years ago. Like, what are you doing up here talking about self-love? And I'm sure all of my exes, I'm sure every single one of those hoes in my early 20s.
This is for the exes.
This is for the exes in my 20s. Never mind. This is going to be posted. I've got a few things to say. I'm not that person anymore. I always really reflect back to a relationship that I was in when I was 21, and I was a big cause of it ending. And as I grew as a person, I was like, oh, I was a really big part of that ending. Like I really that is why I can say that now, because I could really look at that relationship for what it was. But yeah, how unfair if that person was like to see this and then be like, this girl is just lying. It's like, my dude, that was 12 years ago. We have grown.
Yeah.
So I think
thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God.
I am so glad I am not that person when I was 21 years old. Just really not the type of person I would ever want to be like seen as. I just would never wish that upon myself ever again.
Yeah. We still love and accept her.
Yes, we love and accept her. And she definitely helped me become this version because I know what it looks like to be psychotic. You know what I mean?
Should have wore yours. The psychotic.
Yeah. Seriously. If I wore that at 21, they'd be like, that's right. Now people are like, that's so silly. You're so calm. Why would you wear that? It's because I know what it's like to do some messed up things, even though my version of messed up is probably much milder than what I've heard from others. But we're getting off track.
Yeah, I was going to say we are getting a little off track.
But these are all just really good examples of we need people to change their perspective of us as we change.
Yeah.
Because that's fair. And even if they don't, it's not our business to have to like acknowledge that and share that when we talk about who we are. We should be able to just say who we are and what we're about and how we feel as facts.
Yeah.
And then let people who disagree, and don't let that be part of our inner monologue.
Yes.
I think that's super important.
Yeah. And to bring it back to like the topic too of like how it's interesting that we like will think about what people think of us. Sometimes I have to remind myself, because I feel like for me, it's really easy for me to like put myself into other people. And I'm all like, I just feel like I used to like always want to know what people are thinking and all of that, you know? So I feel like it's really easy for me to like try and see myself from other people's perspective. But then I always have to remind myself like, but I don't care. Like, I just got to remember who I am. And that's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like if you're having that thought, that itch to do it, like do it in private and then be done with it.
Yeah.
Like that's it. We don't need to like feed into that at all when we're engaging with other people. We need to just like be who we want to be. So I really like that. I think that's huge. And sometimes you really got to just like scratch that itch. Like you need to have a moment, but then you have to remind yourself like that is just a moment.
And I feel like with social media too, like that's exactly what we're doing on social media. Like our profile is how we want people to perceive us, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes when I post stories, I'm like, what does this say about me?
And I know a lot of my posts make me look just ridiculous. And I just know that they do, the way that I like choose to word things or say things. But I think that's what keeps it fun.
Yeah.
So I always hope people are perceiving me as like absolutely insane. I actually really enjoy
and
that.
that's exactly how you're going to attract the people that are meant for you.
Exactly. They're like, I like this little
like,
crazy.
I vibe with that.
Yeah. Why is she always calling everyone a hoe? I'm into it though. I call people hoes a lot. It's my thing. It's my brand. It is my brand.
Exactly.
Okay. Another thing I really liked, just like a nice little piece to throw in, is I just really enjoy you talking about compassion and awareness being the same, being kind of like the same when it comes to it is a combination of acceptance. Like acceptance is a combination of compassion and awareness. I really liked the way that pulled together because it really talks about how important those things are before getting to acceptance. Like it's another way to talk about this model that you're putting together, that they all work off each other. And yes, I mean, if you want to work your way around and start here and then do this, but these things really do work in order. I think it'd be very difficult to get to self-acceptance without having compassion for yourself. So it just reminds us, like, follow the steps in order. That like this is, you are very intentional with how you put this together. So I just want to say, like, I really liked the way that you like tie that together.
I feel like I came up with that just because that's like literally the journey that I went through. And like this journey, like once you get to self-discovery, you're gonna get back again. Like you're gonna constantly like rediscover new things about yourself and then constantly go through this like circle of life.
You visit old places with new eyes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I really liked also, you brought up a lot of quotes. You brought up the book, Radical Acceptance. I really liked that. I haven't heard of that book, so
I'm surprised you have.
I know. I have so many books on my list. Maybe it's buried in my list and I didn't realize. But I liked that because I didn't write down the whole quote. It's a super long quote.
It was really long.
Go back and listen to that episode.
I hope you guys enjoyed me reading to you.
Yes, I did.
Good.
I liked that they were long passages too. So the second one, go back and read it, or listen to it. But what it really is talking about is like the dichotomy of two things being true at the same time. And I talked about this in my original episode, and we've talked about it in a few episodes past. I think I brought it up almost every time because this is so huge in life. Life is not all or nothing. This is not a yes or no world. We can have two things true at the same time. And I think the biggest thing about radical acceptance is that you can accept something for what it is and not agree with it. Let me say that again. You can accept something for what it is and not agree with it. And you think about all of the things in the world that are two opposing things coming together. And a perfect example I always say is the emotion bittersweet. The emotion bittersweet is a combination of happiness and sadness. And bittersweet would not exist if sadness was not there. And so this quote, he is talking about how we like to pick certain things out of emotions or feelings or experiences and follow just that one part of it. But then you're not getting to full acceptance because you're not fully working through and seeing something for what it is. And so this is another perfect example that when you are on this healing journey and you are in a place of getting to acceptance, the number one thing you have to say is like, I don't always love all these things about me or about the situation that I'm in, but I can accept this is what's happening right now. How does it make me feel? How can I make me feel safe while I'm experiencing it? And how can I move through it? Like that is it. That is where that problem solving comes into. That's where it gives you a place to feel it, let it go, move through it. And you cannot do that if you don't accept something and be okay with saying you openly disagree with it. You've got to be okay with those two things. And if you live in a world where you really want everything to make sense and always like align and be perfect, like that's a control problem.
I was about to say
that's you seeking control. And then you have to ask yourself, what does seeking control in this moment do for me? And how does seeking control protect me in this moment? And then you get down in there in the weeds and see what that really is serving for you. But tell me what you were going to say when you brought up control. That made me curious. What are you thinking?
I was control just popped into mind when you were saying that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing profound here. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I wanted you to give you a space to like.
I appreciate that.
Talk about control if you feel like that's like
there might have been a train of thought coming up, but it's not here yet. But I did have a question I wanted to ask you, so I'm glad that you brought it back to me.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if you'll be able to think of something off the top of your head since, I'm putting you on the spot, but like, since we're talking about radical acceptance, do you have any examples in your life where you really had to practice radical acceptance? Because since you said this was like a big pillar for you.
Okay. That's a really good question. I can think of a couple things. Okay. Number one, and I'm going to try to not get like, it can be really wordy. So I'm going to try to like really like give you high points, but I know one of my big things was relationships. And I spent a lot of time really associating a relationship with safety. And there's a lot of reasons for that, like childhood and wanting that or not seeing that and looking for it and feeling like I needed like safety blankets. Like that's very wordy. It's like getting like really big into it. But at the end of the day, I had decided in my soul that to help me receive safety, I would need someone there to give it to me, and then I would have it. That safety did not exist in me. It existed in a partner. So in turn, I constantly was seeking relationships and not always in the best places. And I would do that because I would believe that that is what I needed. And if I didn't have them, I felt very, very low. I'd feel super depressed. I'd feel just like incomplete. I'd feel just like I was almost ashamed of myself. Like I would feel like shame that I wasn't in a relationship because then I wasn't providing myself what I needed because it was the other person's responsibility to give it to me instead of my responsibility to give it to myself. So when I did that work and I really realized, oh, that's my responsibility. And none of these people have ever really made me feel safe because I've always changed myself in order for them to stay, in order for them to like me. And there's no safety. And like, what if I can't keep up with the person that I'm trying to be in order for them to like me? Or like letting go of the expectations I have because they'll stay if I let go of them. When I really realized that the people who are meant to be in your life will be in your life, and it's your job to be safe and be that safe person, and the right people will come to you because you have that in yourself, that was huge for me. And that took a very long time. I would say I didn't really start like mastering that skill, honestly, probably until I was like 27 or 28. And it was still pretty rocky there for a minute, but that was when I really started feeling profound about when I was experiencing things. I was in the front of my brain and I was aware of them. Like I no longer was like in the back seat of my brain, like confused why these things kept happening. When I was getting to be 27, 28, I was like, oh, I am aware. I am participating in this. How can I get this back for myself? Okay. And also, how can I like radically accept that like safety is in me? Safety is not in other people. And also having a partner doesn't make you better or safe, or that's not a goal. It's just a part of life if it happens for you. Yeah. But it's not like I haven't completed anything by having a partner. I just have a partner and I'm still me. Mm-hmm. So that's like a number one example that I can give. Wow. That was huge for me.
I'm so glad I asked that because I feel like I knew like details a little bit about that, but I feel like I learned more about you just now, like by asking that question. So like, would you say like in your early 20s, you spent a lot of time just being in relationships then?
Yes.
Yeah.
And like we can use the term relationship like loosely.
Okay.
I would say I've had over my life, I've had like 4 like real consistent relationships. But in between all of those, I really was just like searching for anyone who like had the time, who I thought was mildly attractive, the whatever level of attraction, as long as I was attracted, I was just like, I've got time for the rest of my life. Let's make it work.
Yeah.
And like I'll fill in the gaps.
Yeah. And when you're in that state too, you're constantly abandoning yourself for that other person too.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when I was in like middle and high school, didn't have my own identity, very low self-worth. And I would have crushes on guys. I would find out like what music artists they like. Yeah. I would find out everything about the boy, and I would like listen to those bands and know every single song. So, and like, I like that band as well.
And it's so funny too because there's a difference between wanting to participate in things that your partners like and like becoming them and like wanting to like embody that. You could be like, wow, I listened to all this music, never heard it before. That was really cool.
So it did cut us off a little bit, but we're back. And I do want to say something to quickly end what we were talking about when it comes to like the relationships. I'm glad that you shared your story because I feel like there's a lot of girls out there who can probably relate to your story. And I feel like there was definitely a couple people that came into mind for me. So yeah, I'm really glad that you share that. And I think it's also funny how like relationships, they just teach us so much.
Yeah.
You know, like each relationship, they like, I feel like that's exactly what relationships are. They come into our lives, you know, and we all teach each other something.
Yeah. And I think that we don't have to appreciate all of the relationships we have in life. Like some relationships can just be bad and we can just accept them for what they are. Like that's another big thing for me. Like I think it's important to also remember, especially when you're in like really unsafe, unhealthy relationships, we don't need to try to maybe like find this silver lining. But what we can do is say, what I learned, I will use. And these warning signs that I didn't think were warning signs, I now know are. And I can use that moving forward. And it's just like another way to word that. That's not just like, well, learn the positive or let's take the positive out of this. It's another way to say like, you know what? Every relationship I have, I learn a little bit more about what I want or what I don't want. And what I can take from that is just guidance moving forward. And I don't have to give them any space or credit in that. I can say, yeah, that was really bad. That's exactly what it is. And that's exactly what it will always be. But also what I have learned is I will now look for these 3 things moving forward that I didn't think of before. And again, it's just like the way that you word things in your mind to not like get yourself burned out of using the same phrases over and over if those things sometimes feel like triggers for you. So I like that. Yeah, we learn one more thing about ourselves every time we have an experience, whether it's something we like about ourselves or maybe something we don't like about ourselves. You learn a lot from the people that you interact with.
And that's also part of the path to self-discovery.
It is part of the journey, you know? I also really enjoyed kind of like moving the conversation forward. I really enjoyed how you said we need to separate our facts from our judgment because this is so huge. This is something that is very, very big in therapy, something you can work on for multiple sessions. This is part of cognitive behavioral therapy. So this is a very common type of therapy and it's called talk therapy. So anytime you're having any type of basic talk therapy, it is typically cognitive behavioral therapy. And within this, there are 3 concepts, and the concepts are thoughts, feelings, actions. And one really leads into the other. And something that's so huge that I push specifically is remembering feelings are not facts. Feelings are guides, but feelings are not facts. And that really ruffles some feathers because it's like, well, my feelings are me and they're coming from my experiences. How can these feelings, it's true, it's happening in me, but that doesn't mean that all of them are something that needs to be followed and something that's actually accurate. Like a perfect example I gave is I was working with somebody once and they were making suicidal comments and they were saying like, I want to die. I'm thinking about dying and I want to die. I said, okay, we do the whole deal, right? And then we're getting into session a couple, and they had no plan, nothing, but they were having the thoughts, right? So we're working together a couple weeks later and we're doing cognitive behavioral therapy. And I said, feelings are not facts. Like we need to start right there. Like, let's separate these things. And they're like, yes, they are. What are you talking about? Of course they are. They're coming from me. And I said, well, you said you wanted to die a couple weeks ago, right? I go, yeah. I said, well, are you dead? Well, no. Did you have a plan? Were you like wanting to die? No, I was just having thoughts about dying. Didn't want to die. Okay, there we go. That's a perfect example. Feelings are not facts. We can separate those things in our head. We use them as guides and we get to choose which feelings and thoughts we follow, and we choose which ones we can let go of. Yes, we are experiencing things, and yes, sometimes things come and you can get trapped in that spiral and like all of that is work. But if we really remind ourselves, especially if we're having a negative thought, this feeling does not need to bring me any shame. This feeling does not need to control me. I don't appreciate this feeling. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to choose another feeling. And you just keep moving until you find one that aligns with the person that you're trying to be.
Yeah.
And again, this is not something that happens overnight. This involves so much work. But you saying separating facts from judgment is just another way to break that down. Like, just because you're thinking something or feeling something about yourself or someone else does not make it true. And the moment you realize that you have thoughts that aren't the truth, oh, it's so beautiful. It, like, gives you some of that ability to be a human being, to make mistakes and to change your mind and get to be in control of yourself. That's where that real growth happens, you know? I definitely say unkind things to myself or to other people sometimes, but then I say, ooh, where's that coming from? What am I feeling resentful about that I need to say something? Or what am I not serving in myself that's now causing me to say these things? Or like, I don't really want to go down that road today, so I'm not gonna. We're gonna move on. Like, all of those things you can do in that moment to moment as every feeling and every thought comes in. You have to have that conversation with yourself every single time.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting, but it's really powerful. So I really liked the way that you said that. So a big takeaway, feelings are not facts. Feelings are not facts. Feel something, kind of like dissect it a little bit. It doesn't make sense. If you don't align with it, let it go.
Yes.
And that's it. Because it can be a guide to lead you to, like I said, like, ooh, why am I saying this about myself?
Yeah.
What am I not serving for myself in my day-to-day life that's now causing me to say something really bad about myself? I'm not doing my mindfulness? Am I not doing gratitude exercises? Have I not had time by myself? Am I overrun? You know, have I abandoned something for the sake of a comfortable conversation with a friend and now it's coming out somewhere else? Like, you get to dive into that and find where that comes from. Like, they're guides. Like, our thoughts are guides for us. And we've talked about that in the past as well. So if you really see the way that you interpret experiences as guides to moving forward, gives you the option to, like, realize that you have choices.
Yeah.
You get to choose which path that you take with that.
So I just had a random question pop up into my head, and I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but are feelings and emotions the same thing?
No.
Okay.
Ooh.
Dissect that.
That's good. Feelings and emotions are different.
Okay.
An emotion is something that is happening at your core, and it is leading you through whatever experience you're having on the outside world. A feeling is fleeting and it is short-lived.
Okay.
So feelings can turn into emotions, but they are not emotions. So an example could be, I constantly feel left out. I'm having feelings of feeling left out. People are having conversations without me. I kind of feel like I'm, like, on the outside, or maybe I'm in a conversation and I'm included. I don't feel included. The emotion that's going to come from that is like resentment, or maybe it can lead to some depression. It can maybe lead to an emotion of feeling like, I would say, when I think of like resentment, kind of thinking of the emotions where you kind of feel like maybe just like the frustration of feeling left out, and kind of where it comes from, that like really negative place. I'm trying to think of like a specific emotion. I'm struggling to think of the exact one that I have in my head, but I think like anger. Anger comes from that a lot. So that's why I kind of say like resentment of not feeling included. Maybe like some jealousy. And so those are all emotions. So if we were in my office right now, I have a wheel of emotions and there's hundreds. And so you can kind of pick like anger, and then there's like 15 other that are very, very specific about certain situations. And all of those are emotions that you are now choosing to help change your personality. An emotion helps shift your person, and not helps like in a good way or a bad way, but it's like an emotion shifts your personality to follow that emotion, and a feeling is fleeting. So a feeling lasts 90 seconds. Anytime you're having an experience and an emotion gets fired, that is a 90-second experience. That's a minute and a half. That's it. That is how long your brain synapses experience something, process it in your head, you feel it, whatever that is, and then you move forward from it. An emotion comes and things build up and they turn into possibly a mental illness or something you struggle with when you choose to refire that synapses over and over and over. So we use an example like somebody cut you off in traffic, right? Happens. 90 seconds, you're like, you suck, I hate you, I can't believe you did that. Oh my gosh, of course, this is how you cause an accident. You get all worked up. 90 seconds pass. You've moved on.
You were back to like your state.
You're driving down the road, you're doing your thing, right? But then you get to work and you're like, God, that person cut me off. I can't believe that person cut me off. Can you believe that? Let me go tell 4 different coworkers, that person cut me off. I was having a good day and now I'm not having a good day because that person cut me off. And then you build it into this thing where you don't feel like people appreciate you because that's like, can be something that sparks from maybe feeling like somebody's cutting you off. Like, gosh, am I just invisible? I'm just invisible to you. I guess I'm just invisible. Nobody sees me. People are cutting me off in traffic. And that's an emotion. You've turned a feeling, a short-term experience into something long-term. And in turn, that emotion, you have now let be a part of your personality and your experience on how you view life. Because you've chosen to refire that synapses of whatever experience you have over and over and over. And you chose to let it turn into now a part of you by using it as a descriptive word like, I'm invisible. And here's all this proof that I'm invisible to people.
Like, it's reminding me of like, emotions is reminding me of like a core belief almost. Yeah. To where like you have all these like little things that start to like feel like it forms your core belief. I know they're not the same thing, but it's like what is reminding.
It can be a lane. It can be a lane on the way to build an unhealthy core belief for sure. Yeah. For sure. Like I said, like in this example that I just created, and hopefully it like made sense because I really just tried to like think of that in the moment. The core belief at the end was like, well, I'm invisible. I'm invisible to everybody apparently. And that's maybe the way that like this specific imaginary person could view this experience and use it as data to prove that now they have a negative core belief of like being invisible because here's all this proof that like people leave me out and don't see me and cut me off. Like all of these things can like come together to create this new emotion that is backed by a new core belief of like, I'm invisible to people.
Wow, that was really interesting how you explained that. I realized I never like really knew the difference between the two.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to look into it, make sure I really like explained it. I really like, I didn't have the definitions. So I really hope I did.
That was like off the dome and colored me impressed.
Okay, good. Good. I hope that I like explained in a way that like really makes sense.
Yeah. I feel like, like to sum it up, like a feeling is fleeting and emotion is
something that you create your personality from. It's like something that you then use to guide your personality.
Okay, yes.
An emotion is used to guide your personality because it changes your perception of the world. And a feeling is a short-term experience.
Oh, another thing I just thought of too, I feel like I've heard people say like an emotion, it's like, oh wait, I had it. Emotion, it's energy emotion. No, wait, emotion. Because, okay. I guess what I'm thinking of is I'm thinking of an example that I shared on my story a long time ago about how I was feeling anxious. So I knew that I could tell I was feeling anxious. So I decided to go outside, go for a walk. And then because I moved, I was able to move that feeling through me, or I guess move that. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Feeling emotion or anxiety, feeling anxious is a feeling. Having anxiety is an emotion.
Okay.
I'm feeling anxious. That's a feeling. I have anxiety is an emotion.
Okay.
That's really good. I got a little sloppy there. Let me say it one more time.
Okay.
I feel anxious. That is a feeling, short term. I have anxiety, and that dictates my personality and how I perceive the world. That is an emotion.
Okay.
Anxious and anxiety, two different versions of the same word. One is a feeling and one is an emotion. And that's a great example because unserved anxiousness becomes anxiety.
Right.
And then again, like I said, an emotion is how we change our experiences and it affects the way we interpret the world. Having anxiety, being a person with anxiety, it affects a lot of your world. You start living in fear, constant fear.
Right.
Changes every single experience because you're prepared to feel anxious, which is
Yeah.
what anxiety is.
And that makes sense because then in that moment, I was aware of how I was feeling. So then I used that as a guide.
Yeah.
And then I like did something about it. I took action and like moved my body and moved that. And then I felt better.
Yeah. You didn't let it associate with what's happening right now. And then in turn, making yourself become somebody who has anxiety and now feels like every time they experience something like this, anxiousness is going to come because it's never been worked through. And anxiousness is just kind of like unprocessed fear and what that does for you. And that comes from a lot of different places. But anxiety, like at its core, comes from the fear place in our bodies. And it can be fear of lots of things, like fear of unknown, fear of people, fear of like lack of control, like lots of things. But like anxiety is like from the fear family. And yeah, that's a really good way to break it down.
That actually helps me understand it even more.
Make a little more sense.
Yes.
Yeah, especially because I was trying to like create it in my head instead of having like a perfect definition out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, anxious, a feeling, anxiety, and emotion, because that dictates changes a lot of what you're experiencing in the day-to-day because you're so focused on working through this emotion that you've now made a part of your personality, whatever it is. Feelings are fleeting, emotions last longer. And we can revert things, but it's living in a different place in your house now. So you got to do different work to move through it.
Yeah.
So
like
great question.
We both used to always say we were like sad girls.
Yeah. At our heart. I was just hanging out with a friend and I'm reading this book right now, which is just knocking me on my ass. It's called The Untethered Soul.
Yes, such a good book.
Every chapter just beats me down to the core of who I am in the most beautiful way. And the book is about the 20 levels of consciousness and a way to view you as a whole through the unconscious things that you do in your body. So of course I eat this shit up. I love the unconscious brain.
Same.
But a big part of it is how we experience pain. And I was talking to my friend about it today. And I said, this man is so mean. He calls me out and is trying to like separate me from my pain. And like, who am I if I'm not in pain? I was like, how dare he? How dare he like help me remove my pain when like my pain is a pillar of me, which I feel like comes from my sad girl energy. And it's like, who am I if I am not a sad girl? Who am I if I am not in some type of pain? I have to find a personality outside of that. Like, the audacity of this man. And it's so beautiful. And I do see myself outside of that now, but it's just this book is such a great way to just call back that place I live in when I am in that sad girl place, because like I held my pain like a badge of honor and I carried it with me so proudly that if it was taken from me and I could be seen without it, I'm like, I worked so hard to carry this damn thing around with me.
Yeah.
Now I just have to let it go. It felt so insulting, but so true. Like we need to let go of those things. I would like to be seen outside of that. But yeah, I was just like, who am I if I am not sad? Who am I if I am not in pain?
Yeah.
Like
I feel like that goes with like doing this work too. Like a lot of times, like we feel like our trauma or whatever like we experience defines who we are, you know? So it's almost like there's like another part of this journey where it's like really letting go of that story.
Yeah.
And I still find myself like sometimes I also have a hard time with it. So in the past, Chris would say I would use that as an excuse on my behaviors. I'm like, oh, because I went through that in the past, that's why like I would like be able to justify what I did so fast, you know, but I would still in the moment know that it wasn't right, but I would always like use that. And he was like, you need to stop doing that. Like you do that a lot. And he has said that like I've gotten better. Like I don't do that anymore. But then sometimes in the podcast, I feel like I need to talk about it so that I find myself in this place where like, I'm like, I hope I'm not doing that. but I also feel like I need to give people like a backstory.
Yeah. Well, it's like what we talked about with awareness. Like we need to have awareness and accountability. And it's okay to bring up that awareness as like helping you move through something or explain something, as long as we are also keeping ourselves as accountable as possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that we can still backtrack and bring those things up. And that stuff does obviously participate in why we are the way that we are. We just got to make sure that accountability is like hand in hand.
That just the intention of why you're bringing that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
Exactly. I completely agree. Moving on to self-discovery. I thought this was a very cool episode. I really enjoyed, I didn't really know what to expect. Like all the other ones, I had like a general idea of where you might go with it. And I thought this was really cool because I went into it really just being like, what does this mean?
I
like,
love that.
What does self-discovery mean? Like, I think it just means like coming home to myself, but also like, what does that mean? And so you started by asking really good questions too, where you told us to like put our hand on our heart.
Did you do it?
Yes, I did. I did. It was funny because you were like, if you're driving, pull over. And I was driving and I didn't, but I was just like,
you were about to say you did. I was like, wow,
while driving, I did put my hand on my heart, Pledge of Allegiance style. And I really absorbed the questions and they were both really good. I really liked them. The second one was kind of hard. Like the second one, when you said like, what does it feel like to be you? Like, what does it feel like to be Amanda? I was like, damn, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I can like myself and I can accept myself, but like, I don't know what it feels like to be me isn't like so great right now. I don't know, when you're kind of like going through like weird random little seasons. It's just interesting. It was a really interesting question. So I tried not to get like too caught up in like being philosophical in it. And you said that to like answer with your gut. So I was like, okay, you're doing it. You're trying to like talk yourself out of one or the other. So I think all I'll say about that was just the response felt interesting to me. I really felt it like move in my body and it made me feel uncomfortable. And I think that lets me know that there's like something there for me. I don't know what it is though. I need to really like sit with that a little more. But I just remember the moment I heard it, I was like, I don't know. It's like, that's tough. That's tough. It felt like I was not prepared. And it makes me see like, maybe I need to do a little more self-discovery for myself. Maybe I need to like revisit that model. So it was interesting.
And like you said, like you're kind of in different seasons right now too. So, I feel like we're constantly growing and evolving. So maybe you're just kind of in that between. You're like, well, I don't really know.
Yeah. I do feel like I'm in an in-between right now. And I feel like I'm in a good place. I feel like every day I feel more like myself. But that journey has been tough. And yeah, I'm not appreciating all of the seasons that I've been in. And that's hard. It's hard to like accept something when you know that you just like don't like it. So yeah, I think I'm just like in the middle of that right now. So just great question. I just want to say great question. But my big topic is you brought up being an empath. Ooh, I have got a lot to say about this. Okay. Being an empath. There are certain words that I think are very, very popular right now. I love that mental health is becoming much more prevalent and well known. But I think when you're in that journey, and I see it from the outside because I'm a therapist and I just have a lot more knowledge on big things coming from small places, like big concepts. And so I feel like when the word empath was like really brought to the world and you really started hearing people use it, it started getting misused very, very quickly. And it's a very interesting subject. It's a very interesting skill. I guess we'll call it a skill. So I really just wanted to dive deep into it.
Yeah.
And break it down for what it is. And yeah, just kind of like teach some tips and tricks, things that we can like talk to ourselves about and go from there. Okay.
Yeah.
So to get into an empath in general, we will of course start with a definition. So the definition of an empath is someone who has an extraordinary, often overwhelming ability to sense, absorb, and experience the emotions, energy, and physical symptoms of others as if they were their own. So I think that there's a lane of people who learned parts of what an empath was, which is absorbing and taking on things from other people, and really getting that confused within just like understanding empathy as an emotion and saying that they're empaths. But to kind of ruffle a few feathers, there's a big difference between an empath and someone who is a hypervigilant caretaker of others.
Okay.
So when you are saying that you are absorbing the emotions of other people and that you're doing it because you're an empath, there is a very specific lane of people who actually are just very, very uncomfortable when people are experiencing hard or different things and they want to fix that, or they don't want to deal with what they're experiencing themselves because of their trauma in the past, which is what made them hypervigilant. And so now by focusing on other people and other people's emotions, it also takes that kind of accountability away from themselves to focus on their own feelings and what they are experiencing. So being an empath and being a hypervigilant caretaker have a lot of crossing experiences. But the root of how you can kind of tell the difference is when you're really sitting down and you're thinking about the parts of you that you think make you an empath, whoever you are, you have to kind of ask yourself, am I calling myself an empath because I'm aware and attuned to others' feelings and experiences? Or am I aware of how other people respond to me when they're feeling something different or uncomfortable? So that in turn changes how I respond to them by absorbing their energy or attempting to fix the problem. So really sit with that for a minute. So then we can kind of get into like, what is hypervigilance? Hypervigilance is when you are abandoning yourself constantly to make sure the other person is taken care of or safe or like happy. And like happiness and like safety, safety is like the huge component of people who are hypervigilantly taking care of somebody else. The core is trying to make themselves feel safe. So I think it's really common, and maybe this is something people in the world don't think about or see often, but as a therapist, I constantly meet people who tell me they're an empath, and I'm like, ooh, there's just a lot of unresolved trauma, and you're uncomfortable because I'm upset. And I'm allowed to be upset without you needing to like absorb it and try to fix it and then be experiencing it yourself. And it's a fine line. I think you have to know what you're looking for to see it. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. So I want to really get into like root causes. So I found a peer-reviewed article that really talks about the differences. And so it's going to be a little wordy. So you can interrupt me anytime you want between like two comparisons, but I want to just kind of break them down. Whatever comes up in the moment, just let me know. Okay. Because I'm just going to kind of read through them. And there's a couple. So an empath, their root is that they are grounded in compassion and connection. For people who are emotionally monitoring and being hypervigilant. So emotional monitoring is like another word for hypervigilance because that's what you're doing. You're witnessing another person. So if I use multiple words, that's what it is. It's rooted in self-abandonment and making somebody else feel okay. The boundary of an empath is recognizing, an empathic person recognizes and relates to another person's emotions, but maintains internal separation. A boundary for hypervigilance is they're blurred or non-existent. You have completely absorbed the whole experience. And they want to absorb their emotions and take responsibility for their emotions. That's a huge thing. They take responsibility as if they fully are in that same experience. The reference point, which is like where this feeling lives for an empath, it's very internal. You're there, you're in that moment, you're emotionally sensing these things, you're registering it as the information, and you're not attempting to fix. A reference for hypervigilance, it's all external. The internal state is completely dependent on the external environment.
Yeah.
So this person's feeling is affecting the environment.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be here with you in this moment, but I'm gonna do it so I can like not be scared on the outside and witnessing you feeling something I find uncomfortable.
Yeah. See, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. Like when you're talking about this, it really like makes me think of like an empath, like what you're saying, like under empath. Like I feel like that's like me. Like I resonate with it. Like I feel like that is me. But then when you're saying for the other one, like I feel like I could see that for myself in the past.
It's very common for people who have had traumatic past to relate to empaths because they've always had to protect themselves by making sure their outer environment was healthy. And so that's very normal. I see that completely. And that's not a bad thing because you're using it in a good place and you, as long as you can know how to separate it. So the biggest difference is knowing how to be able to see where your emotion ends and their emotion begins. And you can be empathetic. Like I'm extremely empathetic, but I am not an empath. I'm really intuitive though. I feel like that's really helpful. So people will say to me, "Oh, you're an empath, aren't you?" And if I don't want to get super into it, I'll just be like, "Well, I know what they're going. I'm aware of their emotions," or I'll just be like, "Yeah," but I'm not. I am not an empath.
Even if you like are saying yes to all those things, you still wouldn't call yourself an empath? Okay.
I would say I'm really intuitive to how another person's experiences are shaping how they're responding. But I wouldn't say even when I'm like deep in a moment of empathy, like I feel really absorbed to the point of like I'm like wanting to feel it completely and like take it in and like feel their experience. And like it also doesn't like suck the energy out of me if I'm like in an environment like that either. Like if you're experiencing a lot and then you leave like super drained, which is super common. Like reading this article, it talked a lot about that. And that's a very common symptom of knowing you're an empath. If like you can be in a great environment, but you do feel very drained at the end, or if like there's a lot of different things going on or negative emotions are present and you also feel super drained because you're in those moments. I don't experience things like that at all. I can be in a room full of people who are all extremely, extremely unhappy and be present with them and talk through all of those things, but in no way does it then drain me. I think if I feel like a burnout or a drain, that's because like I'm feeling fatigued because I haven't taken care of something inside me. And those are two different things. So if I ever leave a situation feeling burnt out, I know it's not because I'm having like an empathic moment. It's like, ooh, I'm not taking care of myself.
Interesting. You're kind of rocking my whole world right now because that's been a part of my identity.
and I'm like, I think that though, and I can't speak for you.
Yeah.
But when I read this, I feel you and I see you.
Yeah.
I 100% agree that you are an empath.
Okay. I was like, I feel like I am.
Yeah.
And I remember when I like first learned about what an empath was, I like went into a deep dive and
I actually have that question. I don't want you to answer just yet.
Okay.
I want to finish talking about the differences. I hate to cut you off, but I want to get into that and then I want you to answer. Okay. So let me read the last two and then I want you to jump back in. Okay. But I feel like I want you to hear all 5 of the differences first. Okay. Because I want you to use all of it when you get into where you're coming from.
Okay.
Because the next one is the state of your nervous system. And so I feel like these last 2 are very important to like base off of where it came from for you. The state of the nervous system for someone who's an empath is regulated. And so they have the ability to pause and they can have awareness without having urgency. So it doesn't mean you're not there and in the moment, but like the feeling doesn't provide urgency to you. But for the person who is hypervigilant and emotionally monitoring, they are very dysregulated and they're constantly scanning for tension, conflict, and danger. And then they want to fix that. They're constantly looking for it. If you're off, they're like, are you off? I could just tell I'm an empath, but like, are you off? I could tell you just energy is just weird. And like, what's going on? Are you okay? And it's like, they're like tricking you into thinking it's because they're so in tune with their emotion when it's like, they're looking for the trauma responses that they know fire in the past. The last is like the outcome. Again, of the 2 things. So the outcome of an empath is it helps build intimacy and connection, and it's not self-sacrificing. And the outcome of someone who is hypervigilant is they're exhausting their emotional labor, and it leaves them feeling very drained and resentful. Resentment is a big emotion.
Yeah.
That's another emotion people don't talk about a lot and like fully understand. And resentment comes from envy. And yeah, that's a whole nother topic, but resentment and self-abandoning. So those are some from this specific article that I looked in. Those are 5 big differences that you can look for between being an empath and being someone who is super hypervigilant. And as we were saying, to get back into what you were saying, you can start as one and kind of use that skill after you've worked through it on your own and become an empath, because you can use some of those skills, but you really have to like work through that in its entirety before being able to use the positive skills out of that and then like become an empath. And you really have like reached a higher sense of self. So I want this to rock your world, but I don't want it to take away from a part of your identity. So now I want to ask you, when did you realize you were an empath, and how did you know that you were?
Yeah. Okay. So like what I was saying earlier, I realized that I was an empath when I first started my journey. And I think I just came across something online, like on Instagram.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's okay. That's how we learn.
Yeah. And I think I just like saw posts about it. And then I just like started doing my own research on Google and like really looked into it. And I just remember discovering it and reading about it and really truly feeling like, oh my gosh, like this makes so much sense. And I felt like really seen when I like understood it and like things that you can do to help it if you're an empath. Because I would notice that I would feel drained a lot. And I would even notice like people who I feel closer to, that I'm more connected with, I felt like I can really like feel how they're feeling. And I remember I had a friend that I was really close with at the time, like he would start to feel anxious and I would start to feel anxious. And I realized that it wasn't even my emotion or my feeling, and that I was feeling because of him. So I think it was like those little moments that made me realize that. What was your other question?
The other question was, how did you know that you were? Like when you read about it. So you kind of answered that part. So like, how did that feel? So let me kind of backtrack to the first part of that question. Like when you realized that you were an empath, you did all this research and you were like, I align with this and this makes sense. Like, how did that help you be Cindy? And how did that make you feel?
How did that help me be Cindy? I feel like once I learned about it, then I was able to help myself. Like instead of letting it like control me, I was able to find ways to help myself. And like now I see it as like my superpower, because before I was aware of that, I would leave places, you know, feeling drained. And now I feel like, I don't know.
I know. I knew I would really like because put you in a different state of thinking by having this conversation. I knew that this would happen.
Yeah, because now there is a part of me, I'm like, well, am I an empath? Maybe I'm just really empathetic. And because I know I'm very like empathetic and I feel very intuitive, and I just feel like I can like read people really well as well. But I also like feel like all that stemmed from how I was raised, because like I grew up in environments where I felt like I've always felt different. And then growing up, like when I moved to America, like living with my aunt, like I was always like watching how she moved, you know, to know when I can like ask her certain things and stuff. So I felt like because of that growing up, I walked on eggshells a lot. So because of that, I became hypervigilant. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this.
I think you're doing a great job when I very clearly have like brought a very big concept up to you. This is what I want to say. And like, you are you. You can, you know, disagree with anything I say, but you are an empath for sure. I think that is
Because,
100% fair for you to align with that.
like me being in nature charges me, like I said, when I first discovered it, it said like water is very healing.
Mhm.
I've always felt very drawn to the water, and like I started taking baths, and that like really helped me. I just feel like when I was in that phase of just really going through it, like I found tools and things that helped me as an empath,
Yeah.
and I used those tools.
It helps you control it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big difference is
Yeah.
that, you know, at the beginning of it, it probably looked a little unhealthy, like boundaries being crossed, like the example you said, like a friend was having pain, so then you were feeling pain. And yes, it is really absorbing those things, like physical or emotional. But like we said, we have to know where the big thing is knowing where your emotion ends and the next person begins. And it
Mhm.
sounds like that's something that you have really worked towards. So it might have started as hypervigilance, but you worked through that. And then it
Yeah.
kind of morphed into something that can be really helpful, but you didn't quite understand it yet. So you're still figuring it out. And as you've gone on, you've been able to really figure out a lane where you're still fully present and working through those things and feeling those things deeply. But even when you're in the moment feeling it, you can acknowledge, like, I am moving through their feeling and this one isn't mine. And you
Mhm.
can still be there in that moment and feel that feeling, but you can see that it's theirs. And I think that's something that you've worked to build. So I think it's still left you a lot to think about, and I respect that. But I think as I was reading all of this, I never doubted that you were an empath. I said, oh, of course, this makes complete sense. I could have just breezed over it because you are.
Yeah.
But it's such an interesting topic because I think so many people are maybe in that unhealthy phase. So maybe this
Mhm.
is just letting people know that, like, if you're in that unhealthy place of being an empath, that doesn't mean that you can't still do that inner work while being an empath to bring
Mhm.
it to that healthier place to be able to see the difference.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just super hyper vigilant and you're trying to turn your hypervigilance into a skill rather than working through it and seeing it for what it is, which is like, I'm uncomfortable because this person is experiencing something hard and that could possibly affect me. And I don't want that. So I'm going to take it on for them, or I'm going to try to fix it because that's how I can find control again.
Mhm.
So really, like, sit down and have a conversation with yourself of the root of why you are responding the way that you're responding to somebody. And like I said, like, ask yourself that question, like, am I feeling so deeply in tune because, like, this is my superpower and I'm here and I want to be with them in this experience because my body has this magical ability to do it? Or am I feeling uncomfortable? My body's like simulating a lot of those maybe like fight or flight responses or anxious responses, or maybe I'm feeling uncomfortable and I'm trying to fix that or overcompensate for that
Mhm.
by taking someone else's feelings on as my own. And so that's like that big line is that the biggest one for me when I was reading this article where I was like, ooh, this is huge, is the reference point and how the reference point said that for an empath, it's internal. Like, you're the only purpose of it is to like be in this experience with them. And the moment we're out of it, we're out of it. And that's it. And that someone who's hypervigilant is external. It's like, how is this affecting the space? And that they're always like, how is this affecting the space with me? And that's their reference point and making sure this world is okay and they're not as focused on like this world inside us between the two people. That's like a big warning sign. And it's very common. It's one of those buzzwords that we just need to make sure we fully understand it. So again, as I always say about you, you see something you're interested in, you do the research and then you decide whether it works or not. And you did all of those things. And I think that's perfect. And I 100%, I could not agree more with that. But everyone else in the world, like anyone else listening to this, like, be willing, like, I even agree. And you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be up for 3 hours tonight thinking about this. Like, I don't know if I can handle this. Like, I can just tell that you're like, whoa.
There's also like different types of empaths too.
Yeah.
Because I actually have a book. It's the Survival Guide for Empaths. And I remember I talked to like different empaths. There's like an animal empath.
Yeah.
Too. So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. If you feel like you resonate with it, yeah, check it out.
And again, it's another example of like, do your research.
Yeah.
like we can't just like pick and choose the words that make sense to us. We want to really do our best to fully understand it. So this is obviously still a very general, like I chose an article that was very general because you're right. Like it discussed how like, yeah, there's like 6 different kinds. There's somatic and animal, like there's so many different types of empaths, but just like the very broad basic basis of an empath is like what I researched.
And I remember another big thing that came up a lot when I was doing my research on empaths was actually that empaths can tend to attract a lot of narcissists in their life just because, especially when you're like not healed, you're not aware of it. Like an unhealed empath can tend to attract a lot of narcissists because they can feel that about the other person.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. And it's like 2 different directions. So one, the need to help, the need to fix, the need to like understand somebody even in a bad place. But then the other way, fun fact, narcissists purposely pick happy people. Narcissists don't typically pick people who are already like showing signs of like weakness and passivity. Narcissists choose strong people because it's more of a challenge and they like to break them down. So it's actually very common.
That's also interesting as well.
You can read a couple studies on that.
But another like thing I remember when I was doing this research was that they say that so narcissists are so like within their frame, like to where like an empath, they don't have much of a frame. Like an unhealed empath can be someone who doesn't have much of like a frame. Like I think of myself like when I didn't have much of an identity, and then you see someone who has so much like how a narcissist can appear. But it also talks so like that energy, it's kind of like a magnet. They attract towards each other and can become like a toxic relationship essentially, and they repeat this pattern. But at the core, like an unhealed empath and a narcissist at the core, it's the same wound. I remember that was like what I learned.
That's interesting. I mean, they both lack boundaries. I think that's interesting. I don't know if I can speak deeply to that.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's interesting. But I will say one of the big thing is lack of boundaries. And so an unhealed empath is like someone who doesn't know where they begin and the next person ends. And obviously one of the big symptoms of narcissism is lack of boundaries. And so I can see how that would make sense.
Yeah.
And also narcissism is really interesting because narcissism is based off of shame and self-loathing. And that's not how it presents. And that's why it's really interesting too. But like
because they usually appear like they love themselves. They're so confident. But at the core, they're like
a lot of overcompensation and self-loathing.
Yeah.
And narcissism is a personality disorder. And personality disorders are really interesting because typically there's different levels there's A, B, and C, different types of personality disorders are clustered together. And the cluster of personality disorders that narcissism is in is really interesting because these are all this specific cluster. When you have a personality disorder, you're very aware that this version of you lives inside you like a roommate, and you don't really like it, but it lives inside you. So narcissism is really interesting because you can see inside and out of it, but you like can't get rid of it. And it's something that, unlike depression or anxiety or PTSD, it's not something you can work through and go away. A personality disorder is here forever. You always have to figure out how to work through it. And it doesn't mean that narcissists can't also become functioning people in society. Not that they're not, but become kind of like more fulfilled in themselves. But they're stuck with it. And the core of that is working through self-loathing, and obviously lack of boundaries can be a big part of that too. So a lot of people like find that hard to hear, that like people who are not like legitimately like fully diagnosed with narcissism are actually pretty miserable people, experience a lot of shame and a lot of self-loathing, but they present as these people who like have it together and they talk down to other people. And it's like they are talking to themselves. They're just looking for somebody who they can then beat down the way that internally their brain is beating themselves down. And that's why they choose really confident people to then beat down the way that they view themselves on the outside, even though it's not how they actually are on the inside. So, and they, that's just like one example, but I've read a handful of studies about stuff like that, or like read interviews of people who are legitimately diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, and they will say the same thing. So it's really interesting. I mean, we got a little off topic, but very interesting.
Okay. I quickly looked up. I literally just looked up narcissist and like the second or third option was empath. And this is just quickly AI summary on the Google. It says an empath and narcissist form a classic toxic dance where the empath's endless compassion and desire to heal act as the perfect supply for the narcissist's manipulative and self-serving behavior. This unbalanced dynamic often leads to deep emotional exhaustion, trauma bonds, and a loss of identity for the empath. So I feel like an empath who is not aware, who's not like healed, you can get into this codependent relationship. With a narcissist.
I agree. It's just something I'll have to look into a little deeper. Just because the question you posed, I don't really know if I know any of like the data myself. But I'm absorbing what you're saying because that's very interesting. And I provided a little different insight. You know what I mean? We still learn. We just randomly, hey, you get to learn about narcissists today. How random. Not where I thought we were going to go. But that is where we went.
My
today.
camera is indicating that it's overheating. So are we at the end of the episode?
We are at the end of the episode.
I love that.
Is it still on for us to like
it's still on.
Wrap up really quickly?
Let's wrap it up.
Okay. The very last thing that I want to say in this whole episode that I really like, you've brought it up on the last few episodes, so I want to reiterate one more time the way that you said like joy is your compass. Oh, what a beautiful way to word that. Like joy is your compass on how you're making decisions. So please, like when you're going through this journey and you're figuring out your values and you're getting into all of this, like you want to ask yourself, like, where am I most happy? And where do I feel the most joy? And how can I start aligning things and changing things and talking to myself differently to find joy more often? Doesn't mean those sad moments can't be there. Sadness and anger and fear, all of those things, healthy and normal.
They're all part of the experience.
But how do we make joy the compass? Everything else is just like along the destination, but joy is the compass of the direction we want to go. And so it's just like a beautiful way that you worded that at the very end and how you make decisions. So please, like, make joy your compass. That is the purpose of this. Feelings aren't facts.
They're guides.
Yeah, they're guides. Joy is our compass. What else did we talk about? If we accept something, we don't have to agree with it. Stop trying to agree with everything and be happy and okay with it to accept it. Like we accept things before we agree with them. And above all else, like keep shaking ass.
Keep shaking ass and
like
be your bad self.
We are not shaking ass enough through the hard times. Like please, honestly, guys, like if you are
hold a lot of trauma in our hips, all right?
Yeah. like above all else, like when all is failing, like shake ass, whatever that is. Get outside, color, cry, talk to friends. Like please.
And most importantly, listen to this podcast.
Listen to this podcast. Like all of that is shaking ass. So please, guys, we love you so much. Take care of yourself and keep shaking ass.
Yes. And that is such a beautiful way to end season 4 of the Self-Love Model.
We did it. Happy to be a part of the journey. Thank you for letting me come on so many times. Seriously, it meant so much to me.
Thank you for being our resident therapist. Wouldn't have it any other way.
That'll be $150.
But with that being said, thank you guys for being here with us for this season of the Self-Love Model. I am not going to be gone for that long. It'll just be a couple weeks, maybe a month. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, remember that you guys are more than enough and that you are so loved. I think I said that backwards. What the heck?
you paused. You're like, you are more.
Wait, remember
than enough.
Remember, do you want to say it with me? You are so loved and that you are more than enough.
Okay.
Remember that you are
more loved. Wait. I thought we were going to say it.
Remember that you are so loved and that you are more than enough. Okay. Ready? Remember that you
Remember.
3, 2, 1. Remember that you are so loved and that you're
more than enough.
enough. Bye. Love you guys.
I added an extra word. I'm sorry.